So I should have a... Oh, it's already 3 o'clock? No. So let's come back. I will re-talk about it so I can even remember this better. Numerator between group variance. How far apart the group average is. So let's copy this so I can re-talk about it. Damn. I don't know if it's good or not. Anyway, sorry, audiences. That's just what we get sometimes due to technical glitch. Because the average adds a rule that how far apart the group averages are from the overall average. So for example, if you have 3 groups and each group has a different average from the overall average, the denominator is how much the data scatter inside each category. Well, I don't understand that either. How much the data scatter inside each category. So even though you don't see averages in your table, they're building blocks. Why denominator is an average? Doesn't sound like it in your last answer. Variances are spreads of data. Okay, parts are variances are spread of data, not averages of scores. So that's the F value. But here is mean square. Mean square is the variance. True. Yeah, I prefer this answer actually if you ask me. Okay, let's screenshot it. I'm not used to this one. Okay. So yeah. The F value is the variance between groups, variance within groups. To compute these variances, the software first defines group averages, but only as reference points. But how far are each group average from the overall average? That's the numerator variance. How far are individual samples from their own groups of average? That's a denominator variance. So the denominator depends on averages. How far are individual samples from their own groups of average? Oh, that makes sense. I like this one. So, okay, that's a numerator variance. Denominator variance. Okay. Why am I so stuck at the math? The thing is, when we calculate an average, we use up 1 degree of freedom. Yeah, that's the part I don't understand totally. Okay, so far I'm stuck with F value. I don't know when I'm gonna be able to understand it totally. I guess I'll have to get into the details of how each should be calculated. Variance. So the variance is mean square. Okay. How to calculate the mean square? A mean square is simply a variance. It measures how spread out numbers are. Mean equals average. Square, we square the differences from the average. Yeah, because you want to, sometimes the differences is minus, so you want to make sure it's positive so you can analyze it. Mean square between MSB, mean square within MSW. Yes, step-by-step example. Okay, now it's just trying to explain more and more and more with mean minus overall mean. I don't like the symbol of S of squares within groups. Deviations squared each sample. What's ABC again? It's three groups. Okay. There's mean and okay. So basically, if we look at this example, you have 9 numbers of data, 9 data basically, and you group them into 3, and each of them has 3 data, and you have group mean already calculated. And when you calculate a group mean, you create a rule, and then you create a rule, you're gonna need to remove 1 degree of freedom. That I understand, but now what's this? Group mean minus sum of square between groups. Oh, that's what I hate when I was doing my studies. But I didn't do a PhD in this domain though. Using this statistics, number of samples in that group. Group mean minus overall mean. That I don't understand why it needs that. I'm pretty sure it's what's that called? I don't think anyone will listen to this nerdcast about in order to just record something, and this is a nerdcast. Very, very nerdy cast. Anyway, so I'll have to continue tomorrow, and I love this example. I would like to continue with this example. And let's review what we've learned, even though I didn't totally understand. So number one thing number one thing, let's go back to the top of the chat. I would like to demonstrate how you can learn things better. So, for example, if you want to understand how to analyze a table, you'd better just choose one line together with the top headers. But in this case, because every 3 lines are related, every 3 rows are related, so I'm choosing 3. And now the dv is dependent variable. Is it? Yes, dependent variable, which I put it as S, and IV is, for example, it's IV, basically it's independent variable where the factors that are the factors you test. So DV is the outcome you measure. The IV is the factors you test. So basically you're testing what's IV affecting DV. So IV is what you list as, usually it's 2 in ANOVA, or depending on my experience, I would say in this case it's 2 IVs. And the effect is to look at, so I name them XY and XZ. So the effect is to look at them separately and together. That's why there are 3 lines. And now putting to the thing I was on for hours and hours, what? I'm so bad at this English word. Numerical. It's definitely not numerical. It's what? Numerator. Numerator. When you have a fraction number, you have numerator that's above the line, the divider, and you have denominator that's below the line. So that's what you have. That's why they're calculated this way. So numerator is actually a mean square, and then denominator is also a mean square. Why do we use mean square? Because we want to know the variance, and the variance is usually the difference. Put them in squared form. Okay, so basically the Fisher value. F is the Fisher value, and testing is the variation between groups large enough to compare to the random variation within groups. I still don't feel so clear after reading this. So let's be more clear through learning. The variance. So basically, you are measuring between groups versus within groups. Put it in short terms, baby. Um, Variance between groups and within groups. Okay. Why? Because we want to see how far are each group's averages from the overall average. That's what's in the numerator. And there's also individual, like each group's average individual samples. Like in each group, let's say there are three numbers. Each number, how far are they from the group's average? Honestly, I don't understand why he invented this ratio. Ah, it's a ratio, I just realized. This ratio of mean squares. So it's basically the ratio of variance. Basically, it's a ratio of variance. Okay, so that's what I learned so far, and there's the meaning of degree of freedom, which you can name it as degree of freedom means how many different things you're comparing. If your factor like xy has two groups, there's only one comparison, which is A versus B. Like A versus B, so numerator df is 1. And if your factor, so that's degree of freedom. Yeah, I think it's gonna take me weeks to understand. If you're hopefully only days, if your factor if your factor like xz has three groups, uh, yeah, that's why it says xz, because you want to say if your factor has three groups, there are two comparisons because there's three groups. Okay, so the number of freedom, the degree of freedom is 2. And basically, if you use the plain language here, you're saying if your factor has two groups that you divide. I don't know if it's you manually divide them based on what principle, but here it's divided into two groups. So it's within a factor. It has two groups. Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, it's from the study design. So the study design actually probably have like one has three factors. Boom, boom, boom. One has one. There are like two factors, and one factor like context can have many groups. That's the study design. You can divide it as. That's how you like how where you find the sample, where you find the patients to test. So it can have many groups. So that's gonna determine how many comparisons you are having. So that's gonna determine how many degree of freedom you have. But here you are doing the mean square and then you're doing the degree of freedom. That I don't understand. But if the value is variance, I believe the num df is something. And by another definition that I cannot relate uh, because in that case you're gonna have, yes, statisticians wouldn't listen to me, I believe, because it's really like they're like so easy, you're so weak. Oh, I hear that so often when I was doing my master's, where I was a chemist but I was in a physics department doing some physics study exams. Oh my god. Anyway, but I appreciated that when I was doing PhD, nobody said I was dumb. Whatever. I'm dumb on one side, but whatever. We will. But, okay, so then DF stands for denominator degrees of freedom. It shows how much data you have left to estimate random variation. Is my clip cham is still there? Okay, good. It shows how much data you have left to estimate random variation, the background noise. So I really feel like there are two definitions. Look. So numDF. So first of all, they say, yeah, but why? Yeah, that's something else I don't understand. Why sometimes they put like numDF? For sure, they are related. Okay, whatever. At least I finished half a podcast, or how do I say, a podcast. People, welcome to struggle with me when I'm done. And yeah, and by the way, if you wanna learn exact knowledge, I will be able to post the short. And yes, every time when I do this type of studying new knowledge about statistics or whatever, they will end up being a short video on YouTube. Imagine hours of learning, 3 minutes put into 2 minutes or 3 minutes. I don't know. We will see this time, because this time I really took time. Before that, I think I didn't have to, like some random, just Ming or medium. Oh, that's easy. Still, it took hours, but this time it's really, I'm stuck here. Um, but don't worry. I think I'm just a little bit nervous when I'm doing my first Nerdcast. Oh, I really love the name Nerdcast. And it doesn't matter, nobody is watching or listening. It's okay. Just have fun while I'm doing this. Um, but I'm really nervous. Pretty sure it's one of the problem I'm here, but yeah, next time I'll need some pen and pencil to write down. I'm pretty sure that's gonna help. So I'll need to make my kid milk, and see you next time, and I'll go pick up her, and then I'll bring her to a store to check if I can buy some shoes for her or something, whatever. Have some fun with her. That's my responsibility, and she really needs me. I really found she needs me a lot. How do I switch to the other format? Let me see.